howdy out, Shannon from Creative Chaos in Tennessee, and today we are back with another Scraps to Embellishment video. Today's swap embellishment is dancing daisies, so anything to do with a daisy. So, I could have totally used a cut file, I could have used a metal die, but I thought, you know what, let's do something a little bit different. I have been loving lately making my own flowers and painting and all the mixed media things, and I thought, let me show you how to create something with the bare minimum of supplies. And it doesn't have to be perfect. As you can see, I've made four different flowers, 4 different ways. And they're still super cute. You could totally use them all together. So I'm just going to show y'all. So we're going to start out first with the watercolor flower, which is this one. And you can see it's really cute. You could do so many different ways. I'm going to move these up out of the way. And pretty much I'm just using a watercolor paper. I'm using this one. This is just like $1, what's it called? Five Below. I've got it at Dollar Tree in like the $5 section. Of course you can get it at Hobby Lobby, but like, you know, Dollar Tree everywhere has watercolor paper now. So this is what I like to use. You could totally still use like heavy cardstock. Really, you could do anything. If you had like some white cardboard packaging, you could totally use that. The sky is the limit. So, pretty much you need your watercolor paper and a pencil with an eraser, preferably a white one. Now, when using watercolor paper, I didn't know this until I took a class, but they do make a watercolor eraser. And this is the eraser. But it's almost like putty, which this one's pretty dried out. But you can see it's literally made like the putty stuff. But pretty much the purpose of this is so that you can erase without it tearing up your cards, your watercolor paper. Like it don't cause it to start shredding up like normal erasers would do. So I just wanted to show you guys that. So, pretty much, to do this one, you are just going to freehand stuff. And you don't have to be a great artist to do it, by any means. Also, this watercolor is the cheap one from the Dollar Tree. I think it's like $3. Of course, you can get them at Walmart, Five Below. You can buy expensive watercolors, you know. And I'm sure there's a difference if you're a big watercolor artist and you would know this. But I'm not, and I'm fine using the cheap stuff. For what I'm doing. If I was really getting into watercolor painting, I might would want to invest in a little bit more expensive set. But, you know, there's watercolor liquids. I know that I saw at the Dollar Tree, these dry ones. But you could totally use your inks. You don't even have to use watercolor. You could use your inks, your sprays, whatever. And your daisy doesn't even have to be white. You know, daisies, you can get them in all different colors now. So, anyways, pretty much what I did was I just started out with a circle. Let me look. Okay, just so I can make sure y'all are in camera. Pretty much I just made a circle. A rough circle, doesn't have to be perfect, and you're just going to do lightly with the pencil. You don't have to go super dark. But I like to do the daisy's petals long and graceful because that's how they really are. You know, think she loves me not, whenever, you know, they would pick out all the petals. And I don't mind if they overlap or don't overlap. I just kind of keep the same thing going up all the way around. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be touching, doesn't have to be the same shape. You know, totally does not. Okay, so you can see this big mess here. So that's going to be our daisy. So what I then did was took just my watercolors, and I did spritz them a little bit first just to get them wet, so they're easier to work with. But I just took a brush, and this one is a 12. It's just a round brush. It's a number 12. You can use any different size. Just this wider, fatter brush will give you more coverage. And I like to keep a paper towel handy to dab my brush and stuff on. But pretty much what I'm going to do is, for whenever I'm doing this, since I'm not going to be adding a lot of color to it, I do like to just go through and paint the water on to where I'm going to be painting, so that it's not super dry when I add it, and the color will blend a lot better. So okay, so we watered that. I'm going to add a little bit more water, and then I'm just going to go into this lightest blue. Now, you know, you could totally mix your own colors. You can mix it down, change it. You know, you might have some that has a lighter blue. You could mix the blue and the white together and get a lighter shade. But I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm just going to go in. And this is it probably may not even show on the camera. That it's so light. And I'm just going to go in on one side of the petal and around the curve a little bit, just to help draw some of the color in. Because, you know, you want to keep it white, but the light blue gives you a little bit of a shadow for your daisy. Okay, so then that's pretty much all I'm going to do. Now, if I wanted to go back, I could totally go back and darken in a little bit of it here and there. I'll dab some of it off. But, you know, you could totally go in and uplift it a little bit more here and there. My paint's not... It's a little more concentrated where it's a little bit drier. And you could totally go in and just do them like right here, where the petals would be coming into the center. Now, the center, we're not going to leave it like this. We're going to add the yellow. So pretty much what I did was I just cleaned out my brush, and then I went into my yellow just lightly. And then I went back and just wet it a little bit. And then pretty much I just drew a circle on here. And then I'm just going to let that dry. Okay? For my leaf, I did the same thing. And I tried to think size-wise, like, you know, what I would want. So then I went in with my green. I did the lightest green. You could totally use whatever. And I just drew a line, so that would be my stem, and I just went to keep it sharp at the top, and then as I went down, I pulled down a little bit more so it would make the bottom of my stem wider. And then for my leaf, I just drew a leaf. I just did a basic shape like that, and then colored it in. And then you're going to let that dry. And then you can totally go back in with your other little bit darker green and just add some highlights. Now, usually you need to let it dry up so that, you know, it holds its shape and doesn't blend too much and all that. And you can keep adding details and adding details to it. But, let's see. A little bit more of this little bit darker one out. This ain't dry, so it's not perfect. And I am not an expert. I always tell y'all that, but I truly am not an expert in watercolor. I just like to dabble and play and, you know, figure out what works and what don't. So then pretty much all you're going to do is let this dry. So I'm going to set this one aside and work on a different one and let this dry so that we can do the finishing touches on it. Okay, so let's see. Next, let's do this simple one. So after I drew in my little highlights, it looked more like a little smiley for the daisy, which is happy, you know, a happy daisy. So pretty much I am using scraps, so I just went through and pulled some white scrap paper, and I took my pencil, and you can do it on the opposite side, like if you're using texture, do it on the back side. And I just went through and drew a 5-petaled flower. Now, it don't got to be perfect. They don't got to be even. I kind of like them when they're not even. They look more wild and free. But, you know, this is totally up to you and how you do it. And sometimes it's got to go through the ugly phase. I say that a lot. I'm like, whew, man, that's in the ugly phase. So, pretty much all I did was drew my flower. And then I'm just going to cut it out. Now, like I said, you could totally use metal dies. You could use a Cricut or whatever cutting machine. And not have to go through all of this fussy cutting and painting and all that. But, you know, I've been showing the Cricut a lot, and I've been showing the metal dies a lot, and I just wanted to show y'all how to create something with no tools other than your basic tools. A pencil, a little bit of color, and some scissors. And I think this is a good way of showing that. So, pretty much, I just took my ink. I'm using Distress Oxide Vintage Photo just because I like the antique-y look to the flowers. And I'm just lightly going around and inking them up. Now, you totally don't have to do that. You could totally do it in a very light blue just to give that haze of a shadow for the flower if you wanted to. And then I just took a piece of yellow scrap. Now, if you had punches, you could totally do this with punches and stuff also. But I'm just going to cut a circle. It's not going to be perfect. You could draw it if you wanted to. I just like I said, I like to freehand stuff and, you know, just go with it. The wild and free look, I feel like gives it more character. So I think that's a pretty good size for the center. And I'm just going to go through and ink this again. I'm going to ink the center part very lightly. And then I'm just going to take my glue and I'm going to glue this on. And then for my leaf, I just took some green scraps. And since this is a small one, we're going to cut a small leaf. So it's just a basic leaf shape. Doesn't have to be anything spectacular. You know, leaves are all different shapes and sizes. And then you can totally just glue this on. But first I inked it. Let's see. I think I like it better this way. Okay. But I inked the edges of this too so that everything's inked and kind of matches, and it gives it a little bit of dimension. And just glue the leaf on. So then, you know, you could totally leave it like that. It's super cute, super cute. Or you could just take your pen and go in and just draw your little extras, which I like to do. Y'all know I like to add the little detail stuff. And I normally use this pen, this little pen, or I like to use my Sharpie, but you could totally use a Sharpie to do this. I have a Sharpie gel pen, but I ran it out of ink, so I need to get some more of them. So I just went around the edges. You know, you can totally do your little veins on the leaf or whatever, and then you can do the center, you know, or, you know, you can keep going with it and how mine started out was I did eyes, and then you have little cheeks. You could even take and put some chalk in and ink the little cheeks and give it little pink cheeks to have a face if you wanted to. Okay, so there's that one done. And look how cute! And now you already have a set, and it literally just took a few scraps and a minute of your time to freehand it and cut it. And even though they're not the same and they're not perfect by any means, they still are super cute. Okay, so then let's show you this one, because we're still waiting on the watercolor to dry really well. Okay, so pretty much for this one, all I did, same thing, took some white scraps, and I just drew a half. I'm going to just do a half a flower so that it looks like you're looking at it from a side view. So pretty much all I did was I just did the same thing, and I just started going around. Now whenever you're doing this from a side view, think about nature, and the center of the petals would be a little bit longer, and then they would get a little bit shorter going around. So that's just all I did with this. Okay, and then you just kind of connect it together so it looks like a weird octopus or something. Okay, so then you're just going to cut this out. Nothing major, nothing major. I think this is just fun and a great way to use up your scraps without any fancy tools or anything like that. It's just your own creativity. Even if you don't have artistic ability, because you know a lot of people like to say that I'm not artistic, I can't draw. You don't need to draw. This is basic shapes. It's nothing major, so you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Okay, so then I just flip it over. So then you see you have your flower here. So pretty much all I did was go in with my ink and just ink the edges. And like I said, I like to ink it with the brown because I like the little bit of rustic look with daisies. They're so timeless. I love daisies. And so here's your basic base of your flower. So then what I did was I went in with my yellow scrap, just piece, and I just did a half of a flower. Now this one's a little bit bigger of a flower, so you know we can totally accommodate for that. But pretty much if you had a circle punch, you could punch out a circle, and then you could just round it off a little bit in half and use it. But see, this is going to be our center of our daisy. So what I did was I inked the center. And you know, if you didn't have to keep this flat, which we do for ginger swaps, for the mini swaps, you could totally pop this up on foam and all that stuff, and it could be super cute like that. Okay, so now you have your basis of your flower. What I like to do is, like I said, you probably can't really tell on here, but it does have some shadow, and I like to just take my marker, and I'll either use the vintage blue or I'll use the ice gray blend on the lightest ones, and I'll just go in and just make some little marks. And then of course I go back in with my pen too, but I feel like this just this kind of gives it more of the little shadow look, since it has that little bit of blue to it. And then you can go in right here underneath it and just give it a little bit of a shadow, like that would be, you know, under the center, or where the center meets the petals or whatever. You could totally go on over more if you wanted to. Okay, so then pretty much what I did was I just took my green, let me get a longer scrap. I just took my green scrap piece of paper from my stash, and I went in. I started big at the bottom because, you know, the stem is bigger at the ground, and then it gets smaller as it goes up to the base of the flower. And then I just kind of cut it in at an angle. So voila, then we have a stem. And then pretty much I just added a little glue here, and I glued this on. And then I did the same thing I did before. I just went in with my green scrap and I just cut a basic leaf shape. Just freehanding it. And then I forgot to ink. I did ink the stem and all that because I want everything to have that little bit of a shadow and match. Now, you could totally ink it in green or whatever to match if you wanted to. If you even wanted to do this. I feel like the inking and the pen work adds just a little extra layer of, gives it a personality pretty much. And then I'm just going to add some glue here, and I'm going to put my leaf on. And then I'm just going to take my pen and I'm going to go in and just do my little pen work. And I still do it here just a little bit around the edges. And then over on the top. And then I like to do it down the one side of the stem. And then you can just do the leaf. Look how cute! Look how cute that is. And you have a daisy just made from scraps in your imagination. So look how cute those would be on a layout. Like, even if you just did those two on a page. And then you could put your pictures. I can already imagine the possibilities. Okay, so this is the last one, and then we'll go back to the watercolor version. This one's kind of the same premise as this one, but where I went in and I didn't do my black mark under here. I just want to do that in to give it a little more shadow. Okay, this one's pretty much the same premise as this one, except where I went in and I drawed one solid piece for this one, I didn't. I just cut out the pieces. So, let me show you how I did this. Get another piece of white scrap. So, pretty much what I did was I took a piece of scrap and I accordion folded it. Now, if you had one of those like long oval punches, I don't know if that's what they're called, but you know, they're like a longer oval. You could totally punch out a bunch of those and you would have your petals. And you could create a daisy out of that super easy. But if you don't, which I don't because I don't have many punches, you can totally do it this way. So I just kept accordion folding back and forth because, you know, each one is going to be my petal. And you can totally, you know, do them wider if you wanted a bigger, you know, wider flower petal or whatever. So then I took different scissors, not my good ones, because I'm going to be cutting through all these layers and I don't want nothing to happen to my precious scissors. So I just used these janky ones. And I just went in and cut. So I just started cutting, and I made sure to cut off from the side so that it's going to make sure it cuts through all this because of where it's folded. So pretty much I just cut and I cut. And I just trying to kind of hold it where it needs to be so it's not moving around, so they'll all somewhat be the same. And then I just curve it curve it back. These aren't the best scissors, so. And then I just cut it all the way back down. Now, you could totally do this. You don't have to cut through 5 million layers of paper at once, or whatever. But then you have all of these done at once. And they have a little bit of character to them, because if you have a lot of stacks, you know, it kind of is not a super clean cut where it's trying to cut through so many layers. So that makes it interesting to me. And then, okay, I think that's all the layers. So then, you guessed it, we're just going to go in and ink up all of these. All these petals. I don't even know if we're going to need all of these, but we might. Okay, so then we have all of these. So then we're just going to take a little piece of scrap to build a base on. And we're just going to layer in all of our pieces. So we're just going to add these around. And you know, you can overlap some of them if you want to. You don't have to. It's really just about your imagination and what you like. Now, you could totally, like I was saying, with this one, it looks a lot different because you have the shorter petals versus the long ones. But, you know, you could go back and cut different ones, even these that you've already done. Let's add one more here. Actually, that needs to probably be on the other end because of the point. But then you could go back in with these and just make them a little bit smaller so you would have a little bit shorter ones to go in if you so choose. So, okay. And then you're just going to glue this one on. Glue this one on over here. Because again, this one's a side profile view of the daisy. And then I just go through underneath and just cut my scrap out so that you're not seeing it through the petals. Okay, so then pretty much you have the base of your daisy. So then you're going to go in, you're going to do the exact same thing again. I'm out of yellow scraps. Let me grab one. This one's a little bit brighter yellow, but it's okay. So, all you're going to do is kind of measure. I like to eyeball. You could totally measure or whatever. But just go through and create a half circle. Again, like I said, if you had a circle punch, you could totally use a circle punch and cut it in half or whatever. I like to just kind of round it a little bit, more like a coneflower type center or a black-eyed Susan. But y'all get the point, right? So then you're just going to add the center on here. Look how cute. I love it. Okay. So then, Same thing as the other one. You're going to take your marker, paint, whatever you want to use, and just kind of go in and draw in some shadow lines. And then I like to go underneath here. Just to give it a little bit more of a shadow. Okay, so then you're going to take your pen, you're going to go in, you're going to do your pen work, same thing as before as the other one. But because of how we cut the petals out, it gives it a much different look. And it's really just a, you know, what kind of look you want. But I just wanted to show y'all the different ways because it's very easy to create and not have any major tools at all. No cutting machine, no die cutting machine. Okay, and then the same thing with the stem. This one's going to be a big one, so we're just going to go in and picked up the wrong scissors to be cutting with. Now remember, all it has to do is fit into the little swap envelopes. I can't remember what size it is, but this would fit in the envelope. So you just have to keep that in mind when you're making it long and wide. It has to fit into the standard business envelope. So then you have your stem. Then you're going to go back and you're just going to cut your leaf. Let me get my actual good scissors. It's too much. Too much to try to do it without them. Okay. So then you have your leaf shape. Just glue that on. And I forgot to ink again. But it's okay. Oops. The glue is still moving around. You can always go back in and hit it with the dauber after it's glued on. Because it ain't got to be perfectly inked. Don't got to be perfect. It just helps add to that whimsy feel. And then, like I said, I just go in, add my little pen work. And voila, you have a daisy. So look at that, how cute. We was able to create all of these in pretty much no time. So let me show you guys real quick how we're going to finish up the watercolor. And I know this is a long embellishment video than normal, but like I said, I wanted to be able to show y'all a bunch of different ways without any special tools. So this one's kind of like the other flower video if you watched it. It's the same thing. Now that it's dry all the way, our watercolor, I don't know if y'all, let me look, see if y'all can see it on camera. Oh, it don't even look like it's colored. Okay, let's show you up close. See how you can see a little bit of the blue and stuff in it? Okay, so then you're just going to take your pen, and I actually would prefer a different one for this. And like I said, you could totally use a Sharpie marker also, if you have one. I'm just going to use this. I might have to clean it, but I just kind of go around my pencil lines. Now, I don't even worry about getting rid of my pencil lines. They don't bother me. But if they do, if they bother you, you can totally erase them. You can erase your, I like to just go around it twice and make them a little bit messy so that it's not noticeable and it doesn't make a difference. And like I said, this doesn't take any special skill whatsoever. I just feel like this makes them more fun. It makes it look more fun. Okay, so then you have your basic, and then you're going to go in and work on the leaf. And all you're going to do is going to be tracing around the shape that you already made. And like I said, I like to go over it a few times, give it some little extra lines, you know. And it starts getting gummy on the watercolor over the paint with this type of pen. But and then for the circle, for the center, I just go around and around. And you could totally, you know, do dots, you could do lines, you could do all kinds of stuff. Let's just dazzle it up a little bit here. Okay, and then for the stem, we're just gonna go around it too, the same thing. And going over it a few times helps just hide your imperfections. Okay, so then all we're going to do is go in and we're going to fussy cut it. I like to leave a little bit of a white edge around it, but that's just me. You could always cut right up to the line with no problem. And, you know, if you do have a die cut machine or a Cricut or whatever, you could totally, even if you wanted to do the watercolor part, you could totally die cut out a bunch of leaves if you didn't want to paint them and cut them out. You could die cut the leaves and just add to it. Okay, let me cut around this. This is how I always start my fussy cutting. I go through and make sure everything has its own little thing so I can work. I hope I haven't bored you guys to death today hanging out with me. Watching me fussy cut and paint and waiting on paint to dry. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you enjoyed seeing this with, like, you know, creating something with pretty much no tools, let me know below in the comments, and I'll try to work in some other videos whenever I do them for embellishments that doesn't require tools, because I know not everyone has a Cricut, not everyone has a die cut machine, and that's cool. That's cool. For a long time, years, I didn't have one. Okay, so now we have our daisy, all the pieces. So then, pretty much we're going to do what we did before. We're going to add the stem, and my glue is gunked up. Let's see, I think I want it to go this way. So we have our daisy on the stem here, and then we're going to add the leaf. And then we're going to add the center to here. Now, we could totally pop it up on foam tape or whatever if you wanted to. but we're not going to since we're going to keep these flat. And voila, you have your daisy. So then pretty much the last thing to do is to go around and do your, you know, just the little line work, highlights, pen work, whatever you want to call it. This one does have, you know, already have the little bit of blue painted in on it, but it don't hurt to go in and just do some more. Because y'all know me, more is more is more. I like to keep adding. And then I just go in and do my little lines. Now, you could totally get chunkier lines if you wanted a more bold look. If you use like a Sharpie marker, you could use a Sharpie pen to get your fine lines like this. It's really just whatever you want. Okay, and then I'm going to just draw an extra one in here. Alright, and then you have your daisy. So, look how cute! These would all be so cute together on a page. I mean, just a field of flowers. What do y'all think? Definitely let me know below if you guys like this and what y'all think. And I don't want to hear that you don't have artistic ability and you can't do it. I want to see y'all do it. I want to see y'all try it. Tag me. Message me. Let me see what you did. So, in order to be in the drawing to win this, all you have to do is leave me a comment below and you'll be entered to draw. I draw at the end of the month, the last day of the month. I post all the winners. You have a month to claim. I do have some people that haven't been claiming stuff, so definitely check back, hit subscribe, so that you don't miss out whenever I upload the giveaway video. So, until next time, bye y'all.